So I just also want to thank you so much for accepting this.
No problem.
So I really always enjoy being with you in Joke Zoom group because I kind of love your feedback. I feel that you do have some structures. Do you follow like some structures for your jokes? And do you try to
Yes.
help others with what you know?
Yes. So let me start off with who I am. I'm Claudia Bonavita, and I've been doing comedy since 2019. And give me 1 second. So I've been doing comedy since 2019. I took a class to learn comedy, and that's how I started with my journey. And that class taught me how to structure a joke, how to cut the fat. I also read the Comedy Bible, which is Judy Carter, great book. I watched videos on structuring a joke. I took a class with JokeZoom with Rob Chiaffi. The class I took to start me off was at Stand Up University with Peter Bales and Rich Walker. And I also have a comedy coach, Marion Groden. And they really, really helped me understand how to structure a joke, which is topic, premise, punch, always end on the funny word. There are a lot of rules people don't realize. And if you follow the rules, you'll see the laugh is greater. And so you know, I'll throw a joke out at an open mic, or I'll throw one new joke in my set, see how it lands, and go from there. You know, we video everything. My husband comes to almost every single show. We'll video. When I first started, I videoed every open mic, every performance. And we got home, we put it up on our Apple TV, watched it, listened to the reaction from the crowd, and went from there. And so that's how I learned. You know, I thought a joke was great, and then we listen to the feedback and you go, wow, that bombed. What about it bombed? Like, I don't know.
Oh, and what like motivates you or to start in 2019?
Good question. So I was a teacher, special education teacher for children with autism spectrum disorder. And I did that for 32 years. And I'm a professor at a college. I also teach college students to become teachers. And I went to see a comedy show, and there was a brochure on the table, and it said stand-up classes, learn to be a stand-up comedian. And I picked up the brochure and I said to my husband, when I retire in a year, this is what I'm going to do. And he didn't wait. A year before I retired, for Christmas, he and my son bought me the classes as my Christmas gift. And so then there was no turning back. He paid cash to the guy and was like, you have to go. It's every Tuesday. Just do it. And I did. I just did it. And I left that class with a gig. There was somebody in the audience who owned a theater who was planning a comedy night, who hired me at the class performance. You know, they have the little, like, you know, like performance, like like if you're in ballet school, you have your little recital.
Yes.
So the same thing for comedy school is the last class or second to last class, you perform, and then the last class, they show you your video and critique it. And I learned so much from that. And so I did it, you know, did comedy for that performance, met up with 2 comedians. They got me future gigs. And then I met up with a producer who booked me for 1 show. And from that show, I either hosted, featured, or headlined. And it was pretty wild because I just don't say no to anything. I never say no.
There is even a movie, have you watched it? It's called Yes Man.
No, I've heard of it. And I read a book by Shonda Rhimes, who wrote all the famous TV shows. And it's called The Year of Yes. And it's a whole year of her never saying no to any opportunity. And I think I learned that because when I first started comedy, you know, they say, you know, okay, you can do 7 minutes. And I did my 7 minutes, did well. And then the producer was like, oh, can you give me 12? Yeah, sure, sure. So I just went home and wrote and wrote and wrote and got a 12-minute set. And then it was, can you feature? Yes. Can you host? Sure. I had no idea how to host. I went on my phone and looked up YouTube videos, how to host a comedy show, how to MC a comedy show. I asked my coaches that work with me, how do I host? What do I do? And then I just did it. Now, did I make mistakes? Yes. Did I forget to time people and go, oh my God, this guy's going on too long and now I'm lighting them, or, I have ADHD. Did I say the names wrong? Yes. Did I forget who I was introducing? Like the first time I hosted, I got up to the mic and I said, please welcome to the stage your next comedian, and went blank. And the guy's yelling out, Bob Smith. I'm going, Bob Smith. Yeah, that's it, and you make a joke out of it. But I just kept practicing and practicing. And now it's, can you headline? Sure. Whatever I'm asked to do, I say yes to.
You know that you mentioned the name. I grew up in Arabic country and I am used to Arabic names. So kinda now when you tell me like a name like Rab, Rab, I'm used to it. But there are like German names like Moritz. Do you know this German name, Moritz?
No, I don't know.
I have most of my friends here are like from Germany, and some of them have like this name Moritz, or it takes me a long time to put it in my system. It's easier to deal with
Yeah.
names that I grew up with.
I agree. Same here. Being a teacher, I have many students from all over different countries and ethnicities. And I will say to my students, please, I apologize if I'm mispronounced. Tell me your name and I will write it phonetically. So I really try my hardest to get it right. Same thing, Muaadh. I didn't grow up with that name. So it's the same here, with other cultures.
Yeah. So, but also like we do enjoy how kind, even maybe people in America, like if they don't know your name, you are so apologetic. You are the way you go to the restaurant, how, for example, you order the food. Do you mind? Can I please get this? I feel that in Arabic country, we kind of miss being kind. Like the culture still a little bit raw.
And it's funny because New Yorkers are known for being very mean and nasty. And I don't find that. I find for the most part that we're pretty understanding. And because we have so many different cultures here, that we're a little more open-minded. You still find some closed-minded, people who are racist and whatever. You're going to find that everywhere. But for the most part, I think we're pretty open-minded, like you're saying. And I guess that open-mindedness comes off as kindness.
I mean, it's also when people grow up on like in school, they hear it all the time. Excuse me, please, can I do this? You shouldn't do this. Also, I feel that most important how they see the mother or the father treat the mom at home,
Yes.
which is we miss it so much in Arabic country that the man is like the everything at the house. So they kind
Yeah, patriarchal society. The father is the head, or the man.
yes. So to be honest, I don't know if you are following lately this like women rights, and then some people are like they are taking masculinity. It's okay to be a man. Are you like in watching what's going on with these things, or
Yes, and I have to say, it happens everywhere. It happens in education. A male principal, a male administrator. When a woman is an administrator, again, she's looked at as, oh, she's so rough and she's she's not feminine at all. And I don't see that that's an issue. If you have good skills, you have good skills. In comedy, most of the time, I'm the only woman on the bill. It's all men and me. or there's very few. The other night I did a show and there were a lot of women and we were joking with each other. Wow, it's, we're half women for this show. This is a big deal because it's a very man-based also profession, I guess you could say, industry. And it's hard for women to get to a certain point. There are some, I don't know if you're aware of this, but there are some very old-time comedians that feel that women aren't funny. And for the life of me, I can't think of who it is, but there was a famous comedian, I think it was like Jerry Lewis or something, who said, and I don't know if you know, that's probably way before your time, Muaadh, but he said, women aren't funny. They're just not funny. And it's like, I disagree. I think I'm pretty funny,
Yeah, but I mean, it's a little bit because you say that you would say that comedy is a man industry, or it's more
It's
a
male
male.
dominated. I don't know that it's a male industry, but it's male dominated. There are more male comedians than female.
What would you say an industry where female are dominated?
Say again?
An industry where female are dominated.
Teachers, for the most part, my education students are all female. It's rare that I have a male in my class, and if I do, it's one or two or like that. The younger you teach, the more it's female dominated. Kindergarten, preschool, elementary school. If you get a male, they will push that male to become principal. They won't stay long. Or it's secondary, where your high school is more male, and female mixed. But for the most part, education is a very female dominated industry.
think it's anything that involves putting kids, even nurses. Nobody wants
True.
to do that. And this bring the point that nobody wants to leave his kid with a growing man.
True, it's true. Also, it has to do with skill base and the brain differences. I'm a little bit of a brain geek. So because I've studied autism so much, you're either a systemizer or an emotional person. Men are usually systemizers and females are emotional. Occasionally you get a swap, but for the most part, systemizers are very rule-based, very structured, and those people go into math, science, business, and the emotional people are the nurses and the people who take care, home health care aides for someone who's dying, teachers teaching small children, and those are more female traits.
Yeah, it's crazy that when you read science, or the more we know about our body and how we are wired, the more it makes sense, and even the more you can understand your life and the body you are in. Like,
Yes,
how do you approach life, or like the body you are in?
that's a really good question, because growing up, I was very much a tomboy, and I like to bike, I like to kayak, I love to run, I love kind of boyish type of things, but I also like to be female as well and wear jewelry and, things like that. So I always felt comfortable in my skin because it's just the way I grew up and it was nurtured. Nobody made fun of me. Nobody picked on me. And so I could be who I wanted. My husband, who is from Brooklyn, Italian, loves musicals, can sing and dance and tell you right now we're directing a musical. We're directing You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. And he and I did all the choreography, all the blocking, built all the sets. He directed. We did, everything together. And that's something that was nurtured in him. Nobody ever said, don't sing. That's not a man thing to do. Don't dance. He did it. And I guess so then we both connected with that same philosophy.
So you grew up in New York, or?
Yes.
I
And my
think
husband grew up in Brooklyn.
It's like I would feel lucky if I grew up in New York, from a point where even you are technology and information, all this, you have access to it. Um, like, I don't know, like in Yemen, people start having phones and camera like 10 years ago. 50,
Wow.
like I heard Rab saying that his friend has website 50 years ago, and I'm like, what? 50 years ago we didn't even have electricity.
Wow, that's wild. I had one of the first laptops and computers, desktops ever invented. It was a Radio Shack, which isn't even around anymore. And it was a Tandy computer, black screen, green letters. And that had to be back in the early 90s, late 80s. It was right when I got married. I had a computer, and because as a teacher, we had computers in the classroom, and I learned computers at college, but just basic. And so I got on board because I happen to love it. I was one of the first people in my family to have a cell phone. I loved it. Give me technology and I'm in.
Oh, in Yemen, first of all, they didn't allow women to have cell phones at all. Like women just start having cell phones lately, like the last 5 years to, like when they come for the first maybe 5 years, it was man dominant and nobody wanted to give their women.
Wow.
Now they give their women's, but they are not allowed to open Facebook account or Instagram. They are not allowed to be in social media as a married woman. So they would
Wow.
open fake accounts. It's crazy. I also think that to be a teacher in New York, it's like, you know, in Yemen until now they still allow teachers to hit the students in the
Wow.
so it's still like old school. Like me, every time I go to school, if we don't write anything or if we do any mistake, we know the punishment is to hit our hands. And it
Really?
and now when I hear about trauma and how bad you shouldn't do this to humans, I was even listening that, you know, doctors say to moms you should leave the kid cry. This
Yes, yes, yes.
that when you leave your kid cry, it makes them feel that like they are not belong to this, and
Abandoned.
they start to get traumatized from that age, regardless of hitting and all these things. But the crazy thing in Yemen, we still also don't have access to what's right, what's wrong, and how to make humans grow up normal without trauma. Like, it's like, I would say it's like you have a car or you have a machine, but you still don't know how to use it or how to
That's a
guide.
good analogy, right?
Yeah.
It's a good analogy. Wow. Yeah, no, you're not allowed to do any of that stuff in New York. As a matter of fact, parents are very involved in their child's education. And it's sometimes very difficult because even on a college level, if, last year in the spring, I had a student that she didn't get an A, she didn't get a B. I mean, I was really grading for grammar and her structure and writing. And she kept complaining that what's wrong with her work, like in all her other classes she's getting A's. And I said, I don't care what you're getting, that look at this sentence, this isn't a sentence. And she was very aggressive. And so it's all it, which isn't great either, because they feel entitled. I'm here, I should be getting A's. Everyone else is I don't care that everybody's giving you an A. This isn't correct. So I'm not sure that that's any better being on the other side of it.
Yeah, it's. I also wanted to ask you about. You said that you teach people how to be teachers at university.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
like, what do you think is like something that you would advise anyone that wants to teach, as like, because also would you associate that you have some skills how to teach, how to learn people, how to teach students? So do you think some of these techniques might apply on parents?
Yes. You mean to teach parents?
No, I mean, like, what do you think is the best way to teach someone? Or how do you tell
Well, you have
someone?
to see how they learn best. And then you have to go with the way that they learn best. And you have to be flexible enough to know that they may learn differently than you. And that's really hard for any teacher, whether it's college, elementary school, high school. We all think everyone sees the world as we do, and they don't. There are some people who are very visual, show them a picture, they learn it. There's some people who need to hear it. There's some people who need to say it, and some people who need to write it. And if you learn how a person learns and you hit all those areas, you should be able to teach them a way for them to learn it. You know, so like you're saying with Joke Zoom, giving ideas or input, I use my teaching skills because I try to say, okay, wait, here it is. I restructured it, rewrote it, look at it, read it, hear it, let me say it to you. Now you hear the joke. Now you see the joke. Now you can see where it ends. The funniest at the end. You see topic, premise, fun. And so I kind of use the same thing, even though I don't teach comedy. But if somebody asks my opinion, I put those teacher skills to work.
Okay, that's interesting that you need to know the person in front of you, what's the best way to deliver to them.
Most definitely.
And people too, they should also figure out what's the enjoyable way that they can learn instead of like following the traditional way.
Right, exactly. You have to, as a student, you have to know what's the best way to learn. Can you hold on?
Oh,
Sorry, just
no, it's okay.
received a call and I need to address it. So what was I going to say? Yeah, you as a student have to know what's the best way that you know how to learn. You need to be able to advocate for yourself and to say to a teacher, this is the way I learn best. And then as a teacher, I need to respect that and teach in a multifaceted way. You know, we teach in a way that if we make sure it's auditory, visual, tactile, in other words, writing, motor, kinesthetic. And if we teach in a way that touches all of those things, we're bound to reach our students.
Wow. And if you have students that in the class but have different way of learning, because it's struggle, you may have 20 students. How do you make it? Does that mean that it's better always to take a teacher one-on-one? Is it easier?
So I've had a few years back, I had a student who was really struggling. And I met with the person one-on-one to say, you know, where is the disconnect? Where are you, you know, having trouble? And how can I help you to understand it? And then rather than just keep plowing through in a group lecture with 25 students, pulling that student aside and saying, what part of this do you need help with? Would it help to see a template of somebody else's work to say, oh, that's what it's supposed to look like. Oh, that's what it's supposed to sound like. Oh, that's what you want in the end. And for that student, that's all it took. I sat with her with another student's, you know, project to say, you can't use this information, you can't use this topic, but just look at how it looks. This is what I expect. And this is the level at which I expect. And that one little and meeting with her one-on-one, viewing her, you're frozen, Muaadh.
Uh,
Or I'm frozen.
no, I think you just froze at the end.
I think oh, sorry about that. Yeah, I'm
No,
on the Wi-Fi, so I should be good. But yeah, I don't know how much of that you got, but basically just meeting one-on-one, finding out where the issues were and working on that really helped that student.
how do you feel? Do you feel that maybe some students are not supposed to even be in school? I
Do you feel, I think I'm frozen.
yeah. Can
How's
you?
that?
I
Okay.
can. Can you
Now I
hear
hear you.
me?
Great.
Yeah. I just wanted
I
to
can
ask
hear
you,
you.
how do you feel about some students? Maybe they don't even have to be in school. Like some kids, they don't enjoy school. They don't wanna be in school, and maybe they
Oh,
are
so
good.
like learning online, like
No,
that kind of thing,
I
or
mean maybe.
learning by doing?
What I wanted to say is that maybe this kid, he likes mixed martial arts. He enjoys more to be
Yes.
in the gym or to play sport, and he doesn't enjoy to be in school. Would you tell his parents to just invest on what he enjoys and what he's
That
passionate
is a
about
really
and
good
try to make it
question.
an income?
So by law in the United States, you have to be in school by a certain age, up until a certain age. The organization that I worked for was called BOCES, and you don't need to know, Board of Cooperative Educational Services, but we had a technical center for high school students. And what that was is if you wanted to learn to be a sound engineer, videographer, cut hair, be a barber or a
Yes.
hairstylist. You want to learn to be a cook, an electrician, a plumber. Instead of sitting in a classroom, you went to this program and you learned how to do something that you had an interest in and you can get a career out of. And those career educational programs, I think, are important. And I always feel it's important to nurture what the child is good at. In the United States, we had a big scandal where very rich people were giving money to get their kids into college. And one person, the kid was a great blogger, video blogger, was making millions doing that. At that point, why am I sending this kid to college? And if I am, I'll send them to business school so they can learn how to manage their money, finance. But why would you send that kid to college when before they even got to college, they are multimillionaires doing what they love? So yes, believe it or not, people make money as gamers. I
Yes.
know it sounds ridiculous, but I have a young man that I was working with who was on the autism spectrum, who was very much into gaming and computers, but had no background knowledge into like JavaScript and all the different languages of computers or coding, knew nothing about coding, but wanted to do that for a living. And I said to the father, you have to start getting him online classes, sending him to weekend schools, finding something, because if that's his path, he can't wait to 18 to do it. So yes, if you're a mixed martial arts person, maybe you go to business school and you learn how to open a mixed martial arts studio. Maybe I truly believe you should do what you love.
That's good. So imagine if there is kid that doesn't enjoy school and doesn't find something he loves or enjoys. What do you think is there like, do you think there are ways that can help them to kind of find something they love?
Yeah, I mean, it's really then just going out and working and seeing what it is that really you enjoy to do. What are your interests? I mean, there are actually vocational surveys that you could take where you answer all these questions, and then it says, based on your answer, you'd be really good at this. And sometimes when we've had students that say, I don't know what I want to go to school for, I don't know what I want to do, I don't know, we'll do those vocational surveys, and then it starts to give them an idea of, you know what, that does sound like something I might want to do, you know. I also think life experience, getting out and getting a job. And, yeah, does it stink to wait tables or to do something cleaning or whatever to make money? That will get you to say, all right, this is not cool. I don't want to be cleaning tables and washing floors the rest of my life. I better figure it out.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it's a little just pushing a kid out and saying, go figure it out, find yourself.
Yeah, it makes like the kid wake up and feel the real world. And
Yes.
it also makes them value the money that I see I
True.
have to stay the whole day here. And what I wanted to say is,
Can I just say one more
yeah,
thing,
yeah,
Muaadh?
yeah.
'Cause my husband is here and he's making me think. My husband worked for a town, a municipality, did, dug ditches, did, menial labor, but made a decent living on a pension. But he knew what he loved, which was theater and performing, and always had a chance to go home at night, go to a rehearsal, do what he loved. So even if you need to do something to make money, you should always have some sort of interest to do that you love. So I have things that I do now for money, but I do my stand-up. We're directing a show where I'm filming a movie right now, Muaadh. So I'm filming a documentary. And that's where all my fun comes from. But then the reality of, okay, but I need to make money too. So I might have to do some things that I don't like, but I'm making a living.
Yeah, that's also like, I always see you happy. I always see you alive more than, even I like the way you dress. You are always fresh, and I always like to talk with people because it also make more sense. You are doing this. You are doing the documentary. You are doing the comedy, and you have good philosophy and understanding about life. Tell me about the documentary. Is it like you are filming or you are
Ah,
involved in it?
no, I am the executive producer and the writer of the documentary. I created it.
Okay.
So yeah, so I came up with an idea. One of my students from years ago and a family friend, their child, went to school for filmmaking. And my husband and I have appeared in his short films as actors for him. So I have a connection with him. And I called him and I said, I have this great idea. And actually, I was all over the place. And he goes, Claudia, relax. One idea, narrow it down to one idea, then call me back. And I laughed because he was my student and now he's the teacher. So I laughed. I said, all right. So I narrowed it down. Then he said, okay, now write a movie treatment. And I went, okay, what's my philosophy, Muaadh? Don't say no. So I went, sure, I'll write a movie treatment. So I Googled how to write a movie treatment, and there was an online class on how to write a movie treatment, and then masterclass with Ken Burns on documentaries and what's included in a documentary. And I took all these classes, wrote an 8-page movie treatment, and met him and said, okay, I have the treatment. And he's like, you do? I'm like, yeah, I wrote the treatment. So I sat with him, he went through it, and he was like, okay, I'm in. And so we have a crew, we've rented equipment and camera. Last Saturday, we filmed at a jail and a courtroom, which was pretty cool. So I'll tell you what it's about. It's about 5 comedians and I'm not in it. I just wrote it and I executive produced, and my husband and I are funding it for the most part. 5 comedians with very peculiar jobs or backgrounds that became stand-up comedians. So I have Ellen Orchid, who's on Joke Zoom with us. She was a psychiatrist. So you go from psychiatrist to stand-up comedian, big jump. I have a deaf blind guy. He has cochlear implants and he is blind and hearing impaired. And he started an organization to raise money for hearing aids for people who can't afford them, and does stand-up comedy.
But how?
I have how he can hear with the cochlear implants. It's this implant that's implanted into his brain. And so as long as it's on and working, he can hear you. You have to be not loud, but you can't whisper. You have to face him. Although he really can't see, he just to make the sound go clearer to him. But he does stand-up comedy. I have a court officer and a clerk in a court, a county clerk, county courtroom. So Saturday we did his occupational video where we went to the court and he was in his office in the courtroom and in a holding jail cell telling us about his job. And so I'll give you all the different people. And then I have a minister who's a missioner around the world who does stand-up comedy. And then we have a thing called Adult Protective Services. So I don't know if you've seen Donna Moran on Joke Zoom, Donna Moran. She works for Adult Protective Services. Most of the time she works with like elderly who are being abused, or people with special needs that are adults that are being abused.
Yes.
And very stressful job, totally unrelated to comedy, does stand up. That's the whole premise, is that these people have no connection to entertainment, or they have stressful jobs, and yet at night they're doing stand-up comedy. So the movie's called By Day, By Night. By day they work in these stressful jobs, by night they do comedy. And it's called By Day, By Night, Working to Make People Laugh. It's in 3 parts. The first part is their occupational interview. What do you do for a living? The second part is, how'd you get into comedy? What are you doing now as a comedian? You know, and what do you use for material? And there are a lot of questions. And then the very end is a performance, which we're filming on October 12th at a theater. And each one will be introduced. They'll do a few minutes, come off the stage, and then we're going to give them each an interview question. And that's the movie.
No. And that's so interesting. Did you even made the name?
Yes, I came up with the name, and I own the domain, By Day, By Night Documentary, but I haven't created the website yet because I just don't know how to do that. So I'm going to try and figure it out. I'm going to have to, again, take online classes on how to write how to make a website.
Wow. And are you planning to put it on YouTube or?
So what we're planning is actually film festivals. So there are festivals in the United States and around the country, but around the world, but I'm not doing that. So the Long Island Film Festival, there's a Brooklyn, there's a Hofstra. So I have a whole list of film festivals that we're going to enter it in. We also have 2 cultural arts playhouses on Long Island, actually 3, one in Belmore. And I have connections with 2 out of the 3. So to show it there, as a professor at a college, I want to show it on the college campus as a interactive piece where we bring as many of the people from the film so that we can do a Q&A after the movie. So it would be done for the student body. Anybody in the college could come see the movie, and after the movie, we'll put up on the stage all the people who are involved in the movie to answer questions.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, people may have some questions. So
either about making the movie or about the people themselves who are in the movie.
Yeah. I've been to a couple festivals like this, and it was interesting even to ask the people afterward. But have you tried to apply for funds? Because there are some funds they give it for.
So what we did was an Indiegogo campaign, but I think today is the last day for the Indiegogo campaign, today or tomorrow. And so we tried to raise funds. We did not raise enough for the whole entire movie to fund. My husband and I are basically paying for it. But I did get somebody saying to me I should do a Kickstarter campaign after the Indiegogo is done. I don't know. I have to look into all of that.
No, I heard that like there are people in the US who like donate.
Right. And Indiegogo is where that happens because it's independent filmmakers will look on that website and donate. So, I mean, we have received quite a few donations, but we did not meet our goal. And it's funny because my husband and I did a budget, and then somebody else asked us about where does the money go. And as I'm going through the budget, I added 3 or 4 more things that I forgot about. And then I go to mail it off to the person who asked, and my laptop's open on the dining room table. And I said to my husband, wait, there's like 5 more things. Like, it's just so much money that you don't even think about that we didn't even include in the budget. They're like, oh, that's right. We paid for this and we paid for that. The domain name we paid for the year, all this stuff that we went, wow, I forgot. Yeah, we paid for all of that. I think I'm frozen.
No, I think you are good now. It was just
okay.
Yeah, it's money is crazy in general. It's like spending. And how do you feel about the cryptocurrency? Now
I don't know enough about it at all.
Yeah, because now but how also do you feel about that there are so much rich people and poor people. Because I like the idea that there should be rich people and poor people, because some people works hard and there is no equal effort, so there is no equal income. Or what do you think about this?
Well, I think if you work hard, then you deserve what you accumulated over the years, whether it's income or, whatever. I think that is true. I just feel like the rich get richer. And that's that's a little, if you can afford anything in life, you just, you know what I mean? It just, money gets money. Yeah. And that's a good thing. My husband is saying something that is really, really important, which means a lot to us. What do you define as rich? So I have kids, I have a house, I have a husband who loves me, I love him. So money isn't how I would define rich or how he would. He's better at that than I am, but he sees himself as rich. And that's important. Our last name is Good Life. Bonavita means good life. So
Is this Bonavita? It's
Italian.
Italian.
Buona vita.
Vita, wow.
Good life.
Wow. So you grew up in Italy or in the US?
No, we all US. My husband's parents were from Italy, from Calabria, Amandea, Calabria.
Oh,
and my grandparents were from Ukraine and France.
Wow. It's I also love the US, how people looks different, because people married from all around the world. Like
Yes.
So it's like you have all different kind of people and look.
Yes.
And it's especially in New York.
True. And I have relatives also that are Italian as well. So it's Italy, it's Italian, French, and Ukrainian. But my husband's 100% Ukrainian. Although I have a new joke, Muaadh, that's going over very well that talks about that. I talk about how I watch Animal Planet with my husband.
Yes.
And they had a whole show on koalas. And did you know that koalas eat for 6 hours straight? They do nothing but eat for 6 hours. Then they sleep for 18 hours. So I turned to my husband. I go, you think you're 100% Italian? You got to be at least 85% koala.
Oh my God. But it's, they say that really some people have the same qualities as animals.
Yes, it's true.
Like even they say some people are like have the quality of the wolf, some people of the fox, some people of the koala.
I'd say I'm a squirrel. Very attention deficit.
Yeah.
But it's true. It's true.
Yeah. So I try to like keep the podcast from like 45 minutes, 1 hour lately, because I don't know how people do 3 hours podcast.
I know. Isn't that crazy?
It's exhausting, and also the people that come to the podcast, I don't know how they feel, because 3 hours, 4 hours, that's
a lot.
Yeah, but I feel that the more you do them, if someone does them for long time, then it become easier. And also when it become more as a job, it become easier because you have time. But when you are doing it in the side, then you are again more limited. But we try. That's what we do, and we say yes to the opportunity. And I appreciate you so much for accepting this.
No problem.
I loved our conversation, and again, I really love how you look. So
thank you.
Thank you.
Never know how old I was. Retired old lady.
Thank you so much, and I hope to see you around. And thanks for your husband for interacting with us. And I wish you the best, both of you.
Thank you too, Muaadh. I'll see you. Bye.